Woods, who's one of the producers, is with us. Also, the co-writer is Aaron Roman. And our lead actor will be right here, Andy Garcia. But I'm going to just take a minute to introduce Janice Page, who is the movie editor from the Boston Globe. Janice is a former LA Times editor and writer, and she oversees the development and production of all the books published by the Boston Globe. And most recently, there was a New York Times bestseller called Whitey Bulger, America's Most Wanted Gangster and the Manhunt That Brought Him to Justice. Guess you're familiar with that one. By Kevin Cullen and Shelley Murphy. So she's also an author and, as I said, currently a film editor at the Boston Globe. I'm thrilled that she's going to be with us to conduct the Q&A. And now, I would like to introduce the lead actor, Andy Garcia. Glenn is the producer as well. Janice,
thank you.
I'd like to bring you up and have you start the Q&A. Thank you. How's everybody? Good? Great. First of all, I just want to say thanks for coming out on a Friday night for a lovely film. And those of you who are Boston Globe subscribers, thanks so much from the bottom of my heart. We count on you and we love you and make a lot of things possible. So support the Boston Film Festival, support film in this area because we have a great film community here. And it's really wonderful to be part of any events like this one. So I just wanted to maybe start. I'm going to ask a few questions. Later on, we'll open it up to your questions, so please have them ready. So I think we have all spent, or a lot of us have spent an afternoon at a college tour that felt like a week. But it's a fairly novel thing to set an entire movie in that one afternoon. So why don't we start with the genesis of the movie, which I think comes from a personal experience by Adam, his father, and sort of a girl maybe. Let's turn to you.
Is this working? No. Not up. Not working.
Uh-oh. Here.
Yeah, I think you should pass it down.
Go down.
Only
Only
one.
one working mic.
All right. Say prop mic. Okay.
First of all, what a great audience you were. Thank you so much. You know, 20-something years ago, my dad took me on a college tour, and we spent a lot of time in Massachusetts and Connecticut. And on the 8th or 9th college, I was just phenomenally bored, and I found myself, you know, watching. It's very nice.
It's a little theme music for your story.
Theme music for the story. Enhances it. No, so anyway, I was on this tour, and I saw this girl. She was, you know, wandering around. She had left the tour. She was walking in the grass, holding her, you know, her sandals, and I just found my 17-year-old self sort of moving in her direction. And we wound up playing tour hooky for a couple of hours, and that sort of was the idea for the movie for a while. And then they made a movie called Before Sunrise, which was amazing. To me, the first and last word on, you know, young love like that. So we started kicking around other ideas, and I thought, what was my father doing on this tour when I was running around with this girl? And that became the spark for the movie.
Here, now we have.
Hostage, the mic is hostage. So, a number of you have probably had experiences with sending children off to college. And right now, actually, there's a fair amount of movies, reference points for that. Enough Said, there's something about that movie experience, or about that experience, and Admission, and even Toy Story 3 is about that, really. So, you know, the question is, this movie focus of it. And second, the college experience is a little different now because connections might be the last thing you expect to have at college now with everybody on cell phones and heads and computers. So just talk about your own personal experience and what making this movie kind of did for you as you were going through it. And we can start with you, Adam, and move it down, or
Yeah, coincidentally, I just sent my daughter off to college for her freshman year. So I was taking college tours with her at the same time we were scouting locations, which became really surreal. And we scouted all across the country, so I got to see a lot of them. Where were we when we were in?
Ole Miss was a big camp. We did a lot of Michigan. We looked at Agnes Scott in Georgia, and we ultimately ended up in Washington State. We stitched together Gonzaga, which is in Spokane, and Washington State University in Pullman, those two campuses. And they were both just phenomenal hosts. And all the states had film incentives, and Washington's was very attractive, and so that's where we ended up. But just to your point about the sort of the story, when we normally write a script, we sort of outline it very thoroughly from A to Z. But in this script, we didn't do that because we wanted to discover their day like they discovered their day. And we ended up going down a lot of cul-de-sacs where we had to turn around and come back. And so it was a much different process, but we hope that in doing that, it sort of gave it a spontaneity that you sort of felt like you were with them and sort of discovering their day as they were going through this, particularly for Edith, this harrowing life experience of sending your child away.
was it a personal experience for you?
No, I was mostly under sedation throughout the whole film. Actually, I have 3 older daughters in their 20s that I went to college. They actually we didn't do much of an orientation. They basically got into college and they wanted to be in, and we dropped them off. One was, my youngest was here at Emerson, and she did her freshman year here, and then she moved, she wanted to move to Manhattan, so she finished her.
Story of Massachusetts.
No, she loved it here. It's a beautiful, extraordinary town. And first of all, I'd like to do a shout out to the Boston Globe and John Henry, who just acquired the newspaper. He's a friend of Go Red Sox. And as a guest of his, it was not such a good thing for the Red Sox, but it was a great thing for the family to be part of that experience. So I have had that experience with my 3 older girls in a sense, but nothing like the film at all. What I do want to add to is what Glenn was saying in terms of their writing process about trying to write the script in a way, in the same ways, sort of metaphorically, as the characters would discover themselves. When I got a hold of the script, they sent it to me and I read it, and I was very taken by the beauty of the writing and the idea of the story, everything about it was so charming and so beautifully constructed. Then I met these 2 characters and I fell in love with these guys. This is the kind of guys I want to have a life with. And so I said, we have to go, when you make an independent movie, we had no money, really, we were starting from 0.
And that's where we ended up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be some filmmakers in the audience, but you would appreciate a movie like that was done for $2.5 million in 20 days.
Wow, nice.
So actually, with Andy and Vera, we shot in 17 days. Yeah, Andy and Vera. But to my point, when we finally got the blessing of Vera coming to and joining us on this project, which we had, no money obviously, but I always knew that the project would attract a great actress because it was just so beautifully written. And Vera, to me, is one of the most genial and really extraordinary actresses of her generation. So she was on my hit list because I said, this is an actress you want to work with. But when the curious thing was that the process of making the movies were very much, the way they wrote the script. When Vera came in, she was coming off another movie. She has 2 younger kids.
as I have a younger boy who's 11, and my wife and I, and Andres, my younger boy, came to Spokane, and a little earlier than Vera, but she came in on the weekend on a Saturday. We met on Sunday in a wardrobe test. I remember one wardrobe test, there's only one change in the whole movie, so it's like, this is what you're going to wear. So I came out to take a picture. We were going to do a test to see how we all look together, the two kids and me and Vera, you know. And I stepped out. They were already outside the production office to take a little bit of a test with the Alexa digital camera to see how the wardrobe looked on camera and stuff. And I came out. It's kind of like the way Glenn is dressed as you saw in the movie, as a Brooks Brothers model, which is what the model. That was all Brooks Brothers, by the way. But the difference was I didn't have a khaki pair of pants. I had a pair of seersucker pants. But they strobed on camera because of the digital media, so they strobed. We had to go to a khaki. But when I walked out with the bow tie, which was not in the script, it's something that I had talked to them about, because I had this image of Harold Lloyd that I wanted to pay homage to. And when I came out, Vera started laughing at me. And I said, okay, well, we have a movie. And then after that day, you know, we got changed. I said to Vera, do you want to take an opportunity to, you want to go through the script? Because we hadn't even read the script together or as a cast or anything. You have any notes? You want to talk about anything? You want to, and she said, no, I just want to execute. And I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And the first scene we shot with us was that scene behind the tree where we're talking about the people at the campus. That was the first day, first scene up. So we discovered the relationship as the characters did. You know, we never had a rehearsal, there was no rehearsal. We never rehearsed the scene, we shot the rehearsal. First take was the rehearsal, and we shot it, and we just worked our way through the film that way.
How many takes was the acting class scene?
Well, you know, it's different things because you have, I'll hand it over to Adam, but you have different, you have overs, you have masters, but Adam will be more specific. I was kind of lost in my world there, but you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer, everything was 3 or 4 takes at most. And I remember Andy, always the gentleman, wanted Vera to do her side of that scene first, because obviously it was a very emotional scene. But you know, he was giving her all the, feeding her all that emotion while we were doing her close work. And I never said thank you for that. That was very, very thoughtful. Thank you. But no, Andy's really got it. I mean, in the world of digital filmmaking, the lines are really blurred between what's rehearsal and what's a take. I mean, you just sort of get the thing up and running and shoot it. And some of the greatest moments I think we put in the movie were, first takes.
So talk about.
I want to say the cinematographer who shot the movie, Manuel Kadosh, he's quite an extraordinary individual. I had the pleasure, this is the 3rd movie that we do together. He shot a movie, I got to know him on a movie, I don't know if people saw a movie I did about the artist Modigliani. He shot that in Bolivia. Thank you, Mom. And we had lost the cinematographer, so the movie, the director said, we lost this Italian, very famous guy, but he was, going on in age, and he wanted a lot of days to shoot the movie, we didn't have it. So he said, but we found this guy, and I met him on that movie, and I found him to be really rather an extraordinary photographer. And then he ended up shooting a movie I made about Cuba, which was very personal to me, The Lost City. And then I suggested, I had mothers everywhere. And then I suggested him to the boys because I knew that he could work very fast. The majority of the movie was shot with available light. We had rented no lights in the film. It was all shot with available light and a couple of panels for the interiors that were shot. That was right?
Yeah, our inspiration was the great cinematographer Nestor Almendros, who then film buffs, shot Days of Heaven and Kramer versus Kramer and a million other great movies.
That was a little sidetrack.
So Andy was a producer on the film as well, and to talk about the making of the movie a bit. It took 5 years, right, from script draft to, right? So, you know, I think the filmmakers in the audience, but everyone in the audience would be interested in knowing how you raise the money to make a film, how you get that film made, you know, how you got Andy on board, all that, the backstory there.
It was, we typed at the end in 2007, and it was just, you know, every story is unique, but we sort of cast the film with different actors, and we were able to, with their attachments, sell the movie for certain foreign territories, and that got us a little bit of money. And then we lost those actors, and we got different actors, and so that money changed a little bit, and that was always a little bit of a tenuous process. But you know, the huge part of it was, you know, Andy is a producer on the movie. He had done a beautiful movie for the distributor Anchor Bay called City Island, which you know, based on the script and Andy's attachment, the same distributor agreed to give us essentially half of our budget. And so that with the foreign sales, and then the state of Washington's incentive, and then another friend of Andy's, Mr. Ron Pedraza, came in with a little last bit of equity, but that was sort of our whole package. And then once we had the money, you know, it just became about casting and actually shooting. But again, it was a very long and tedious process, and there was, you know, 50 times over 2 years he could have just said, you know, thank you, but no thank you guys, we're done. And he never did. And you know, when Adam introduced him and said we wouldn't have a movie without him, that's exactly true.
Yeah, and if I may just add to for the filmmakers, one of the things that was great about the script, aside from obviously the way it really connects these two characters, when you think of it from a producing perspective, here you have a movie that all takes place in one day, during the day, so it's natural sunlight. So there were a lot, you know, it's one set. So it's really clever, you know, what Adam and Len did in the script, because it allowed for that type of movie to be done in an independent fashion.
Yeah, just to give a little more backstory too, Glenn and I